Welcome to the Strong Enough Podcast, your relationship wellness podcast. I'm your host, Claudia. Today's guest is going to share with us how she survived multiple traumas, from losing her dad at the age of 1.5 to going to live with strangers who abused her to making it through 9/11. Not only did she survive all of these things, but she has made it her mission to thrive. Please help me in welcoming Leva RJ. Leva, hi, it's so good to have you today. I know it's morning for me, it's afternoon for you. How are you doing?
Hey, Claudia, I'm great. Thanks for having me. Thank you so much. I'm super excited and a little bit nervous, but super happy to be here with you.
I'm super happy to have you here with me, and I am also excited. And I know we were just talking and I almost said, oh, we're going to have a great time. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be fun because, we have a lot to unpack and to talk about here with your story and so many things that you have gone through and survived and then thrived. But why don't we start with a little bit about who you are for our viewers and listeners?
So, my name is Leva. Well, that's done. We got that one right.
Got that one.
Easy part. So I was born in Madagascar, and I very quickly was brought to move away to travel by choice, not by choice, whatever. But then travel has become part of my DNA. We'll go into more details later. I'm just doing a bird's eye view of who I am. I've lived and worked in 13 countries, in Africa, all over Europe, Asia, and the US, which is where my heart is, somehow. And now I am actually in France, where I live on a farm, on a very old farm, that I'm restoring with my very own 10 little fingers and 2 hands, which is hard work. That's how my day goes. It's half of my day goes towards restoration, and I do a lot of things with my own hands. And I get help too, but mostly, we do things. And then the other half is for my business, so my day job, so to speak. I'm a holistic executive coach, and I focus primarily on women's, meaning, the big accent on the X, meaning that I am very inclusive. I love minorities of all sorts because I am a minority of many sorts myself. And so women of all minorities, religious, sexual orientation, whatever, all welcome. I love you all. I love all of you. I love all of us, really. And what I do is I try to basically inspire and guide those women to make them understand that, if I've gone through so much shit, and excuse my French while I'm in France.
Do they say that there too?
No, they don't. They don't understand when I say that. They're like, why are you, what? But yeah, so I show those women that if I have survived so many things and I've managed to make it in one piece with lots of scars, we just talked about it, in one whole piece, and I am at peace myself, and I am living a life that I never dreamed I could live, in a place that I never dreamed I could be in, let alone own. I am teaching them to slow down, to listen to whatever is boiling inside and let it bloom inside into this beautiful flower, so that they can basically live a life that they're proud of, a life that is soulful. And that's my job, my day job.
That is amazing. And you can even see and hear, in your voice and in your eyes, the passion that you have for this and for helping other people to really live that life that they want to live. And I know that a lot of pieces of your life were maybe not what you wanted to live. You have been through a ridiculous amount of trauma, and I was prepping for this episode and would find one more thing and find one more thing. And I literally thought at one point, good grief, how can one person go through so much and still be just such a bright happy, positive, amazing person. And that is exactly what you are. So I don't even know if we can get through and talk about everything that you've been through. So we already might be, for the audience, talking about an episode 2 and 3 here. So just get ready for that. But I think one of the most formative things that happened to you was very early in your life. I believe you were about 1.5 and were involved in a car accident. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and what happened from there?
Sure. But before even going to that, I just want to say, well, thank you for saying all those really nice things about me. But I really want to be very clear to everyone here. I am here as I am today. I have not always been like this. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel like shit. It's okay to feel like the world is ending. It's okay to feel like everything's against you. It's okay. Everything is okay. You're allowed to feel your feelings, all of your feelings, all of them are valid. I really want to say that because this is the thing that usually people don't get, and they really try so hard to be positive and whatever, despite everything. And the healing cannot happen until you embrace whatever's happening inside. So yes, I am who I am today, and I show up as I show up today. But trust me, I have not always been like this, and I am not 100% of the time like this. As some people we know, the amazing Jen and Chris, sometimes all I need is 51% to keep going during a day. I don't need to be 100 or 200 or whatever. I'm not a hustler. God knows I have been a hustler, like doing things and getting things done and overdoing and overachieving. No. Sometimes 51% is all it takes. So anyway, back to your question. But I really think that's super important because people feel guilty for not feeling okay. And they're like, whoa, shit, she's been through so much stuff. Oh, look what she looks like. And look at me and I'm worth nothing. Hell no. Hell to the no. It's not true. And this is not good. It's not going.
That is okay, because that gives me a quick moment to say thank you for saying that. And I think you're 100% right, that it is okay to not be okay. And it's okay to not always have that smile on and that positive face because, you know, I've talked before about wearing a mask and how a lot of us who have been through trauma feel like we're often wearing that mask and pretending for the world. So I'm so glad that you did take a minute to talk about that. It's okay to take that mask off. It's okay to not have it. It's okay to sometimes be 51%. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's important to know 51% is all it takes.
Exactly.
1% that pushes you to the other side. That's it. Everybody's got that. So I believe in everybody. So yeah, 1.5. That was the founding act, if I may say, of my life, because it was on apparently we were. I'm saying apparently because 1.5 we don't have memories. Apparently we were going on a weekend. It was a nighttime drive, and we were involved in a car crash. Very serious because my dad died that night, and very. Symbolical too, because that night was the night of Independence Day for Madagascar, and this happened in Madagascar. So every year, I'm being reminded. Every single year, it's June 26th. Here it comes again. So my dad died on the spot, and my mom got badly maimed. She got completely entangled in the car. I don't know if the audience knows where Madagascar is, but it's a big island southeast of the continent of Africa. This happened in 1976. Imagine the means that were available there at the time. My poor mom literally got snatched out of the car, and she's missing most of her limb because it got left there. Because it's not like today paramedics and they try to do the thing and no, it was just like wham, let's go ma'am. So that's it. And that was the beginning of it all, really.
So I know you don't remember that time. As you said, we don't remember things that happen when we're 1.5, 2, but that set you on a path to then go live with some family, but who really were strangers to you. Tell us a little bit about that.
So just about the memory, my very first memory is in the hospital as we arrived at the hospital after that accident. And I remember I was crying. And I remember my mom crying. We were in the OR, my mom crying next to me on another table, telling people to leave me alone. That's my very first memory. Like, how crazy is that?
Mm-hmm.
But it is there. Because my mom could not take care of me. Imagine a woman who couldn't walk anymore. My dad was an entrepreneur, pretty successful. And as it happens in those kind of places and that kind of time, there was a lot of confusion, and his life insurance disappeared somehow, which was all apparently in my favor. And as my mom couldn't walk, she couldn't work, she couldn't do anything, we got kicked out of the house, and she and I became homeless. So I have very early memories of talking to my mom and saying, my mom asking me, where do you want to go today? Which uncle, which auntie are we going to go to today? We need to eat. We need food. Where are we going to go for lunch? Where are we going to go for dinner? And I would pick, oh, I like this uncle. Oh, I like this auntie. And we would go and literally impose ourselves, because I don't think people had much choice. We would just walk. My mom limping with her crutches, and that's what we did. We slept in other people's homes for a while until my mom decided it was too much. I was 4.5. She'd been preparing me to say that I needed a life, that she couldn't take care of me, that I needed to be ready. She would send me somewhere where it was amazing, and it's the family of my dad, etc. So I got sent away in Europe, 14-hour trip on my own, first flight ever. I loved it because I never stopped flying thereafter, except during COVID. So it had to take a pandemic to stop me from flying. But that was it. And I ended up at a house in an apartment with people I didn't know, with cousins and an uncle and an aunt, and those people were diplomats, and they were speaking in English at home. The only language that I mastered was Malagasy from Madagascar, and they would speak also, and we were speaking French because the kids were going to French school, so it was pretty brutal, but I'm very grateful for that. Again, always find the positive thing, because that's where I learned to master languages. So now I have a few under my belt, so if I hadn't had that horrible thing, I would not have been able to learn. Anyway, long story short, the family that I didn't know, my own dad's brother and his wife were abusive. Physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, all of it. I didn't have a room for the longest time. I would sleep in a corridor, on the floor, or on a camping bed. I would have hand-me-downs. That's all. I never had one piece of clothing that was new or that I wanted, which felt really weird because my cousins only had to point at something and they had the clothes they wanted, and which is good because then I got the hand-me-downs. But so that's how it was, and that was pretty horrific. I'm not going to go into the details because there's a ton of details that I could share, but maybe we'll do a separate thing on that one. But that's the first thing that really was bad, because that's when I started being super sensitive to other people's reactions. That's when I started learning, and that's where I actually learned to anticipate people's needs. So I can be an amazing team player because I can anticipate everybody else's needs. Because at the time, I had to anticipate on the needs to make sure that my uncle would not be cross at something and would not hit me with his belt later on. I had to hide. I learned to read on my own. Wow. Under the table, under the dining table, because there was a tablecloth pretty long to the floor, and I would read my cousin's little book. So what was it? It was Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood in French. And I started to learn on my own before they even sent me to school. I had to keep busy. And they had a person working for them that came also from Madagascar. And she saw me, and she came under the table one day and she said, "Leba, don't ever show them that you've learned to read on your own. I'll help you. Don't ever show them, because you'll never find peace. He will ask you every single day to read a ton of pages, and you'll get hit again and again. So shh. Wait until you go to school, and then you say that you can read. But for now, nothing. That's what I followed, and that's when I learned one of my biggest life-saving skills, which is to adapt. Mm-hmm. But this biggest skill I realized only 2 years ago. So you see, I'm 47 now. It took 45 years to realize that my biggest skill, the thing that I was the most proud of, being a chameleon, being able to adapt, etc., over-adaptable, is actually my biggest weakness. Because by doing that, I didn't exist. And I have learned for 45 years to not exist. So I have been working, for example, in journalism. Journalism is about talking about others, how to put them forward, how to put some information forward, etc. I have been a diplomat. I have worked for a head of state. And my job was to put forward the country so that as many people in the world as possible could actually know, oh, Madagascar, it exists. Because at the time, people were like, I remember I was in New York, 99, 2000, and people would talk to me and say, where are you from? Madagascar. Oh, you're so exotic. Where is that? What is that? What? But now everybody knows Madagascar because of the movie, and I'm very proud to say it's my biggest achievement, because I'm the one who actually finally got the letters that Pixar kept on sending to the presidency, responded and made everything happen so that they had all the resources, all the access that they needed to make the movie. Not that I didn't get flagged for the movie later on, but anyway, so I have learned to not exist and to make others exist. I've had my own branding, marketing, and communications agency. What do? Well, you promote others. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to having a voice, when it comes to having needs, wants, and being yourself, I just wasn't there. And that massive skill that I had acquired by surviving maintained me for the longest time in a state of survival. Because listen to the others. What does this person need? What does that person need? And I'm not even going to go into relationships. The codependency, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's... Oof.
There's a lot that I want to back up through, but let's start with, you said you existed in that state of survival. And I know that one of your things is talking about how you made it past just surviving and getting to a place of truly living your life and thriving. So how were you able to finally say, you know what, this isn't enough. I want to do more for myself?
So I wish I had that. I wish I had that clarity, but I never had it. It never came like that. It came in increments, in tiny little, it's like one drop here, one drop there. And how it happened is that basically one day I just figured out, because I'm always helping people, they'll help one person every day. I'm always helping people, and based on my track record professionally, because in order to exist, I had to overdo things. I was the youngest journalist covering Davos, the World Economic Forum at the time. It was crazy. I was like a baby there and talking to the heads of states and CEOs of Forbes 100 and whatever. I had to overdo it. So I've done that all my life. And then seriously, it started coming very slowly. It started, I think it was in 2014 in New York City. I was going to the subway. I was going in the subway, waiting for my train to come. And I had an episode of, I think, what they call clinically, a split. So I was there standing in my body, and for the very first time in my life, I was in my body. And I was watching the people around me, and I was thinking, damn, those people are gray. oh, they all look so sad. They all look so stressed. And I kept on going, looking on the platform. The train still wasn't there, which was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was scurrying around. And it's like a wake up. I was like, what am I doing here underground? This is a rat race. I refuse to be a rat. I refuse to be a rat, but that's how it all started. And I came out of the subway, and I think I probably took the subway 2 or 3 times since, just to go from JFK Airport to New York City when I fly in and fly out. But other than that, buses and walk or Uber. I have refused to be a rat. And with all due respect to all the New Yorkers, I mean, I love New York and have my own little, story with New York. But there's a point where I had this massive, it's as if a part of me had been there all the time, but it finally came together and coincided. And I was like, oh, waking up. So that's how it started. And then little by little, it kept on coming. And really the past 2 years have been the massive fast forwards. I mean, I am not going to hide it. I have been in therapy since September 2001 because of 9/11. So I've been in therapy since, and I love it. I love it. I could not exist without therapy. I know a lot of people say like, oh no, I'm not silly. I'm not sick. I'm not like, yeah, it's like, you know what? You need to cry, you get a tissue. You want to live, get yourself a therapist. It's as simple as that. Like literally, it's necessary, at least for me, and I know for a lot of people. Don't ever hesitate. You need help, get help. There's too much in your head, get help. Like I'm a big advocate of that. And of course, that's also why I do what I do. So to get back to it, the past 2 years have been, I don't know, I think I've fast tracked through 20 years in the past 2 years. It's been crazy, but it's because I realized that when I worked as a journalist and an editor, I had 8 screens of real-time news, just the dials, titles just like literally dripping on my screens, and I had 8 screens, and I could control all of them and say, we got this happening in South Africa, we got that happening there, bam, 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 bam. Today, I am monotasking. Mm-hmm. If I'm on a Zoom call, as you know those Zoom calls, and they're like, you gotta engage. I'm like, sorry, I can't do that. I mean, they're on the screen talking to you, listening to you, or I'm chatting, but I'm not doing both. I can't keep up with both. My brain's like, enough of this overdoing everything, multiplying, just be. And when I moved to France, which was 3 years ago now, I chose a place that's literally lost. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful, peaceful, and everything, but there is no one, nothing. It's just me. And I felt, such a relief. I was like, wow, I've become a complete antisocial. But not true. Absolutely not true. It's just that I finally understood that I had accumulated so much busyness that my body and my mind and my soul needed to purge it. Like you have a zit, that's what you do. It's the same thing, get rid of the busyness. And going through, I know it sounds like a gimmick now, slow life, but it is a reality. Switching to 100% slow life allowed me to get in touch with whatever was inside. What was inside was anger, was sadness, frustration, loss, as in I was lost. Not in all areas, in some areas. So I was able to basically just be with that, just embrace all of this in order to go forward. And I was like, the universe is really doing the thing its own way, because the reason why I bought this property, why I'm here today, is because I want to host retreats for the women that I coach. I want a real life extension where they can come, disconnect completely in order to recharge, creatively refuel. And that's exactly what I was doing myself. And I was like, yes, this is it, because this is what empowered me. So I got it. This is what I'm going to offer so that the women can empower themselves.
Let's talk a little bit about therapy versus coaching.
Yep.
We had an interesting discussion about it during the premiere last week, and we were just talking about, I was actually saying, well, I do therapy. I agree with you. I think everybody at some point in their life should go to therapy. It's not a negative. It's not a bad thing. It's not a ding on your character or anything like that. But then I was saying, you know what? I might try a life coach or some type of coach instead of a therapist, because I think a lot of the work that gets done is similar, just kind of in a different way. So since you see a therapist and you are a coach, what is your thought on that?
So I love that question. Because it is so... I think we need to have this conversation more often. So not only do I have a therapist, I have a supervisor. Every therapist has its own therapist. Every coach needs its own coach or a supervisor, where we debrief, we discuss, and if there's things that we didn't do well because we went beyond, the coaching practice, then we are able to see it and then identify it, and then change our stance the next time it appears, et cetera, et cetera. So it's super important to stay humble. As much as we said, therapy, everybody, should know not the throws, because therapy actually brings so much positive. People think you go there and you get judged. And a lot of people actually try to evade therapy by going to coaches. And that's where I say, here's the thing. As a coach, I have had in my training the basics in the modules that I had to take and had exams on. I had modules of psychopathology, for example, in order for me to be able to know and to tell when I can intervene and when it's beyond my realm of intervention, and I can very kindly and compassionately suggest that the person gets help somewhere else, at least for one specific topic or area, etc. So it depends. There's the coaching. That's the thing. The word coaching is so broad, and it's like you can just put everything in there. Like, okay, you got the MLB coaches. No, it's not that. You got the whatever, and also everybody. And there's a lot of people that I know. Who improvise themselves as coaches because they've been through things. As much as I love them and respect them, I have to say, please get certified, get trained. Because if you don't have the basics, the risk is you're going to hurt the people that you're supposed to help by projecting, by not understanding the actual rapport that's building between you and your client. And if you don't know those things, you're going to hurt people and you're going to hurt yourself. And that's just not what we want. And that's not what you want. You do this job because you want to help people. So give yourself the means to actually really help the people. In terms of coaching, how I see it, and I always tell my clients when we start working together, at the very first session, I say, here's the deal. I'm going to have to wear a bunch of caps. Sometimes I'll be an advisor and I'll tell you, I'm taking an advisor role right now. I can tell you, well, I'm a mentor. I can tell you, okay, I'm taking back my coach cap. Let's do it again. Let's go back at it. And sometimes I'll say, this is beyond my thing. If I were a therapist, I would tell you something else. So please go see a therapist, or at least read on the topic, and have a whole list of books that I recommend to the people in case they don't want to see a therapist. And then I tell them, we will not take care of that part. But if you want to be whole, you need to heal everything. So go see a therapist. And I'm happy to recommend therapists as well. So I work remote and I can help you finding therapists in lots of different places. I've lived in 30 countries. I can help. That's not a problem. The limits of my intervention are clearly that I try to be, I call myself a holistic coach because I am a certified executive and leadership coach. That's my base. That's how I started. That was my first practice, and that was in 2007. It's been a while, and I was very successful with it. And I had, governments as clients. I had central banks. I mean, like all the very serious stuff, and investment banks, investment bankers, and you name it, blah blah blah. But I very, very, very quickly realized it was not enough for me, and yet I couldn't go into the therapy thing because to each their own. Therapists have their jobs. I don't want their jobs. So I just really left that area for a while, went back into communication and built 2 businesses, etc. And I came back to coaching. Once I understood that what I needed was to actually incorporate into my coaching all the ancient wisdoms from all the places that I've been, or from all the encounters that life has brought me. So, for example, if somebody comes to me, I can give an example of a client who came to me, and she was very depressed, and she said, my back hurts so much. And I said, okay, which side? She said, oh, the lower back at this point. Well, there's a saying in French about the back that says, my back is full. It's overloaded, meaning basically you can't take it anymore. You're on the verge of burnout. And this was the very first session with her. And I asked her questions. And yes, she was indeed on the verge of burnout. And I said, would you mind going to see a therapist? Because you do need the help, and it will really help you, remove that massive weight over your shoulders. She kind of didn't really want to, but she did. And she was so happy. She came back after, I think, 6 months. She said, oh, I'm seeing a therapist. Thank you so much. It's great. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm coming back. So this is what's happening. And she was like way more enthusiastic, dynamic, blah, blah, blah. Not that the therapy was that fast, but she had learned how to take care of herself and be mindful of herself and not burn out. And I'm like, so what's happening now? Oh, I don't know. There's a thing that's I don't know, something with my breath. I can't really breathe, and this and that. And I follow my intuition, energy. I know it sounds woo-woo, but seriously, intuition is such a tool. We are so used to being either here or that's it. And part of my job is to keep this activated, activate the heart and the guts, and put it all together in a dialogue. That's what you call intuition. That's it. It's just these things that your eyes can't really catch, but the brain just catches it. It's the reptilian brain, basically, that sees things. So my reaction was like, why don't you go see a doctor and get a scan of your lungs? I don't know. There's something that annoys me there. She comes back. She's like, there's a black dot on my lung. I'm like, okay, we got to work that. But I said, who? Again, it's another saying in another language that says that somebody is taking away the air from you. So I said, who are you in conflict with right now at work? Because this was a work environment. And she cried. I'm like, okay, what is happening? Her boss. Terrible relationship with the boss. Really, really harassment level, etc. So that story ended up, I had to call the boss and do a mediation and have them both sit in the same room. And the boss was the director of this massive structure. She walked in and I went to see her first. She was like, well, she's this, she's that. And I said, are you able to just let go of all of that and see her as a person? What if it was you? What if your boss was? And she agreed to do the mediation. And when she walked in, she looked at me and she said, I don't know what you're doing. And I don't know if you know what you're doing, but I don't think this is going to get us anywhere. And I said, no problem. We sit down. I give them the rules. We do the mediation. We come out of there. They have an agreement. They now can talk to each other. The director, the woman, comes to me. She shakes my hand. She looks me straight in the eye. She asks, I don't know how you did this. I didn't know it was possible, but you did it. I cannot believe it. Thank you so much. Now I understand. So this is part of coaching for me, helping people talk to each other, not by analyzing, but just being a conduit for them to be able to tune into each other. So clearly, therapy has its rules. It's very regulated. There's the DSM-5, DSM-6 now, the Dictionary of Symptoms of Mental Health. I don't even remember the actual title.
Right.
Anyway, DSM-6, and they have to go through that. They have very strict protocols, etc., and they abide by that. I'm a coach. I also have my own protocols, but they don't really delve into the mental illnesses or symptoms, whatever. What I do is help people get into action. So if somebody says something to me, I will give them my perception in terms of like, okay, well, I feel like this is this and that. Is that how you feel now? I try to be a mirror, reflect what they say, how they feel, and then help them move into action. So it can be a lot of things. One of my clients is super happy. It took us 3 sessions to stop her online shopping addiction. 3 sessions. And she had been, I think for a bunch of years, and I'm sure she's going to listen and watch, so hi. She's amazing. She's really amazing, but she did it in 3 sessions because she understood what was happening.
I have that problem too.
Okay. You want to talk?
Maybe.
So yeah, coaches and psych and therapists and I know therapists hate coaches. I don't hate therapists. I love them. I think we love them. And I know that a lot of my peers, coaches, don't do the work. That's a shame because then it's a big dent, shadow, ding onto all of us coaches who have done the work on ourselves personally and also have done the work getting the training. So it's not that easy. People say, oh, I'm gonna just improvise myself as a coach. Well, guess what? It's actually super hard because you've got to do the work on yourself. Therapy. So you understand all the different triggers and stuff, not to inflict that on your clients. And B, you got to do your training as a coach. And there's a lot of ethics involved, etc. So it's very hard.
I really like what you said about doing the work yourself and understanding the triggers and making sure that you don't hurt your clients, because I run into the same thing as an advocate and in working with people who have experienced domestic violence and sex assault. A lot of people go through that and immediately want to jump in and help the next person, which is admirable. It's amazing, but you're so incredibly right, because unless you have healed, and we never get over it, we can get past things and through things, we never get over things, but until you can take that time to identify your own triggers and make sure that you don't push those on somebody else, you do run that risk of hurting someone because you're still, as we say, working out your shit, but now on that person instead of letting them work out their own shit. So I'm so glad that you did bring that up. So for people out there, you're wanting to help others when you've been through something is incredibly admirable, and there is a time and place for you to do that, but you got to get through your stuff first. 100%.
And get help for it.
Yes,
Absolutely. That's the thing. Like, we're here to hold the light for the others. Once we've managed, we're here to hold the light and shine it for them. So yeah,
absolutely. I want to go back through a bunch of things, but I want to go back to, first off, the abuse that you suffered when you moved in with your relatives. Was that exclusive to you, or were their own children going through it as well? Just you?
Just me.
How did that make you feel? Or how did that shape your self-esteem of seeing your cousins who were living presumably a pretty great life, and then you're there and you're getting abused in every way imaginable?
It's not that they had a good life. They were spoiled. It was the two ends of the spectrum in one place. It shaped me in the way that, you know how we say with Black Lives Matter, etc., all those things that came up, that some of us and the Black population had to work twice as hard to get the same thing. That was the feeling. I had to overdo everything in order to get a tiny little bit of attention. Whereas my cousin would say, "Daddy, I want to eat chocolate." And he would run out and bring her like massive pack of chocolate. Do I get even a little squirt? Hell no. Why would I? Well, good thing, because, now they're all obese and whatever. It's not my problem. But this is how it made me feel. It made me feel, I didn't see, here's the thing. I never felt worthless. I felt, it's a nuance. I never felt worthless. I always knew I was worth something. And that's why I had to put myself to work. I had to do things because I knew I had my own worth inside. However, I felt like, I don't even know how to phrase it. Like when you were with friends and you're the poor one, you feel like, I don't know what's the word for that. See, I can't even see the...
Right.
It's like,
it's less than, or...
Yeah, you're the less than. You're the weak link. You're the weak link.
Right.
You feel like the weak link. You know you're worth something, and yet within a certain system, you remain the weak link. That's how I felt. And that thing has pushed me to overdo, to hustle. I mean, in New York City, in the tech business, in San Francisco, in the Valley, back not so long ago, in 2010, 2011, 2012, my name would come up and people would say, "Oh, she's gonna get it done." No way. Of course, she's the fucking hustler. She's got it. Like, you want this, she'll get it. That was me, because I knew I was worth something and had to put it out there, because people wouldn't necessarily see my worth.
You had to make them see it.
Exactly. And it would reflect with some of the conversations that I had with friends of friends that I had just met, whatever. And then they would go, after like 2 or 3 days, they would go, someone has to take time to talk to you because you're such a treasure trove. You come across as whatever, but in reality, you have so much. Bam. They just validated that again. The weak link, like she doesn't show it. She doesn't. So finding your voice is so important. The way that I thought I had found my voice was by overdoing, overachieving. So how it made me feel is that I had, when you say you're hungry, like, "Oof, I'm hungry, I'm going to get this done," when people have nothing. And that's how it made me feel. I was like, you know what, one day I'll get there. It gave me motivation. Yes, I was the weak link, but hell, I'm going to do something. I'm going to be someone. One day I'll do this. One day I'll do that. Lo and behold, all the things that I said I will do, I've done them. So I'm happy with that.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing that it pushed you, but it sounds like it pushed you maybe to a place of overcompensating, of overdoing.
Absolutely. That's why I focus on the women who are overdoing and overcompensating and over everything. It made me feel like a minority. It made me feel like an underdog. That's why today I want to help the people who are a minority, people who others consider as underdog. I'm always for the underdog. Like, you got everything, you don't need me. If you don't have everything, I'm here for you. And that's really my mentality.
Let's talk a little bit about your relationship with your mom, because I know it was a struggle for a long period of time. When you went through what you went through with your relatives, did you blame your mother for putting you in that situation?
So not at the beginning. At the beginning, I was super excited because she told me, this is going to be good for you. Mom cannot take care of you. You're going to go there. You're going to have a great life. You're going to be educated, la, 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 la. So I was just holding on to that. And when in the morning, I would pick up my spoon with the left hand. I'm a lefty originally, but now I'm a righty. When in the morning at breakfast, I would pick up the spoon for my cereals with the left hand. He would drag me to the bathroom, pull down my pants, and just literally thresh me with this belt buckle in the bathroom. And I remember, to respond to your question, I was like, I don't care. My mom said, this is where I'll be. I'll do things. So I don't care. You can hit me as much as you want. I don't care. I remember one day he cried. He was like, go back to the kitchen. And yet every morning I had that. So I ended up being fed up and picked it up with my right hand. And now I'm a righty, but I'm a confused righty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ambidextrous, but not really ambivalent. So yeah, that at the beginning, that was it. And then I forgot about my mom. 4 years is a long time, especially those are the formative years, you know. So it's a long time. And when that woman came to pick me up, first of all, it was not the plan. The plan was that I would go live there and that's it. And those people would become my mom and my dad. And actually, I call them mommy and daddy in English. But when this woman came to visit us, and the person who was working for my uncle and my aunt looked at me, she was the only one who was really taking care of me. And she was my safe haven. She looked at me, she's like, do you know that woman? I'm like, no. You know you're going to go with that woman? I'm like, oh, I have to leave again? Yeah, that's your mom. That's my mom. That's my mom? That's my mom. And I would just look at her and I'm like, I don't know this woman. I seriously don't know this woman. But guess what? That evening, I left with that person, my mom. And she took me on a road trip through France. And then we got on a plane and then we flew 14 hours. And again, I found myself in the same position as when I came to France. It was, well, I'm being put in the hands of complete strangers. I'm just going to behave because that's what good people do. They behave. And I behaved. And it's like cohabitation. It's like, you know, coexisting. It's like having a roommate. But it's your mom. That's the thing. Like for me, I was just living with people. Then there was my mom. Then there's her sister. And then there's her brother. And there's all those cousins who are actually friends. I've never felt like family stuff. My cousins are really actually more friends than something else. But on the opposite, my friends, my really good friends, they're my family. That's literally what it is. So I didn't connect. It took a long time. We only finally connected as mother and daughter when I was 36. And my mom, she was my mom. She gave birth to me. So for her, I was a daughter, and she was frustrated at the way that I behaved myself at this and that. And I was like, yes, I was going to her. She was my guardian. She was the only grown-up taking care of me. But at the same time, who was this woman? I don't know. And she had to figure out how to raise a child on her own. And it was just so confusing and complicated and da 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 da. So I think I started resenting her in around the year 2000 or something. Actually, no, sorry, a little bit earlier when I actually left, because then my parents moved to France and I studied in the north of France, and then I went to study in London. As soon as I could, I just left. I had to leave. And once I had my little room there in London, very poor, scavenging to pay my studies, to pay for my studies and, you know, to pay for my food and stuff. I was living on the equivalent of $10 per week.
Wow.
So anyway, I think there with the distance, the physical distance and everything else, and me having to take care of myself, I started resenting her then, saying, how dare she? This woman is my mom. She abandoned me. How dare she? The anger started coming out at that point. And it really exploded once I moved to New York. That was in the year it exploded in 2000 because she was talking to me. And how old was I in 2000? You calculate that because I suck.
26.
Yeah, that's it. 24, 25. She, up to that year, my mom never called me by my name. And that did not help.
What did she call you?
She had nicknames, all sorts of nicknames. The nickname when she wants to be sweet, the nickname when she thinks I'm sweet, so the kind of rewarding nickname. The nickname when she thinks I'm being unbearable or cruel, or when that's the gaslighting, basically.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't like how I behave. She calls me a nickname. That means you're just overdoing it, you're cruel, you're whatever. So, and I remember this phone call that we had. I was in my apartment in New York. I was in the Upper East Side, and we're talking, and she said something, and she used the cruel nickname again. And I said, listen, woman, this is how I talk to her. Listen, woman, it's been 24 fucking years, and excuse my French again, not a single time, not once, have you ever called me by my name. Not once. So you gave me a name for a reason. Either you're going to call me by that name, and if you can't call me by that name, don't even bother calling me ever again. You get that? And I hung up. I cannot imagine in what kind of state she must have been thousands of miles away going like, what just happened there? But I was really reclaiming my space at that point. I was like, this is it. So that's when really the anger came out. And it's been a bunch of episodes. When I got really sick and everything, I still was not able to have her. I was actually based in Paris at the time. They were based in another town, actually not far from here. And it was a 3-hour drive to Paris or an hour on the train. And they would show up at my door and I would say, I'm sorry, you didn't say you would come. I have no space for you, no time. Thank you. Next time, be polite. Call me before you come. I've been that harsh. Like today, I'm like, oh God, I've put them through so much because then my mom remarried. I have a wonderful son, etc. And I remember even, my mom talking to me and saying after that, can we come and see you? And I'm like, sure, I'll be happy to have you for lunch on this day. And that's it. And they had to come and they took a room in a hotel to stay overnight, whatever, because they couldn't drive. But they were like in their little shoes and very polite, like children. And I reversed the roles. I was like, I'm taking control because I am so sick and tired of all this shit. I had so much resentment. And believe me, I was already in therapy. So it took a long time for me to finally understand and let go that this woman did something that's super hard. Let her child go, her only child. She's already a widow. She's only 23 and a half. She was a gorgeous woman and now she's maimed for life. She doesn't know if she's ever going to walk. She's missing almost a limb. And what does she do? She sacrifices. She sends her child away to people. She doesn't know how they're going to treat the child, but she knows the child will have an education. She'll have food. She'll have a roof over her head every day versus us trading the street in Africa. Literally. It took me a long time to understand that, to see her point of view. A long, long time. It was hard. It was really hard.
What I appreciate, though, is that you started to set boundaries. You were recognizing some of the signs because you mentioned the gaslighting, which is a thing, and we've talked about that before on this podcast, and boundaries. So even with your mom, you were willing to put your foot down finally and say, no more. I want to be treated a certain way, and if you can't treat me that way, then I don't need you in my life. How did that feel for you? You know, I know you said you can't imagine what your mom felt like when you hung up that phone, but how did you feel when you hung up that phone kind of for the first time with that woman, your mom, drawing that line and saying, I am worth more than what you are giving me?
Angry. When I asked her to call me by my name and I hung up, I felt angry. When, I put the other boundaries, I felt super angry. The anger was so overwhelming, overpowering, all-encompassing. I could not feel anything else but that anger, that frustration. I was shaking. I was like literally shaking, and I couldn't understand why that was. But somewhere I was like, I gotta trust my gut that this is the right thing to do. I gotta, because I can't continue like this. I can't, and it's not possible. Then after that, I felt guilty, like, oops, but it's my mom, oops, or maybe I've been to whatever, oops, maybe I need to learn to communicate differently, because when I reach my limits, let's say another French word, French, when I reach my limits, I know I can be ruthless, forceful, no filter. I just put it out there, and I can be super aggressive in my delivery of it. So as much as the content is actually not, it could be just okay, it could be neutral. The way that I deliver it is so aggressive, then I feel guilty because of that. And actually today I feel guilty because I did the same thing yesterday with someone else. So hello, life is a long life learning journey. That's
it's a journey.
And yeah, there you go.
So you said that, it took you, I think, 35, 36 years to kind of understand where your mom was coming from and the sacrifices that she made to attempt to give you a better life. Where is your relationship with her now?
Now I have a mom. For the longest time, in the in between, she became my child. Because she didn't know how to be with me. So she defaulted in being my child and having me take care of her. And now I have a mom. But I still put boundaries. I still keep a lot of things to myself. And I know she suffers from that. But I can't do it any other way. However, for example, with COVID, there's no hugging, no nothing. And I hadn't hugged my parents since March last year. And this last week, we went to visit them, we being me and my current partner. And when I left, actually, I didn't really hug her. I kind of hugged her, but like below, like this. And she was like, oh my God, I miss this so much. And I'm like, yeah, me too. Because I'm a hugger, It's like the French, can we just say something? The French, back on the cheek thing is so annoying. And I'm so glad we don't do that anymore. Okay, can we just say that? It's just annoying. Like, it's this like, hello, personal space. You're encroaching on my personal space. Back off. If I want to give you a hug, something else. But this... So yeah, I'm a hugger. So that was the thing, and yes, we can talk, we can have conversations. It's not always easy, but I guess there's also this mother-daughter thing that all mothers have with their daughters, or most, and the difference in upbringing, because she has a very patriarchal way of seeing things. And I'm way over that. So that's a little bit, that kind of course, it taints her vision and approach of the world, and he taints my vision and approach of the world. So of course it's two different universes trying to communicate, but yet we have the mother-daughter relationship now. When there's something happening, I call her when I feel I can share, because I don't want to burden her either. So yeah, that's where we are today.
I know that this episode is going to run a little bit longer than usual because I do want to hit on a couple other things. So I hope that's okay with you.
Go ahead.
I hope that's okay with everybody watching and listening. So you talked about earlier your time in New York, and you talked about having been in therapy since September of 2001. Tell me about your experience being in New York and having an office in the World Trade Center on 9/11.
Well, that's another. I could have done without that, honestly. Seriously, I'm like, can we stop just dumping stuff? Literally, because. So, I was it was earnings season, and during earnings season, so I was working in a financial news agency. So the real time at the time was still a thing, whereas now everything is real time, so it doesn't really matter. But at the time it was a thing, and basically I was due to be in the office at 6 a.m. and then take over from European coverage. And then in the evening, we passed the baton to the colleagues in Asia. But I had just come back from Europe, and a colleague who also came back from Europe said, well, if you're exhausted, because I tend to jet lag pretty hard that way, so why don't you come in at 9 and I'll go in at 6? I'm like, sure, off you go. Except when I woke up that morning. So here's the thing. We talked about intuition. The night before, I stayed a little late in the office. There was one colleague of mine, and I was the editor. So I said, Leslie, we're done. I'm going to close the office. And she was working on a big feature story, so she was still in the office. I walked out, and then I walked back in, and then she's like, did you forget something? No. I need a box. I picked up an empty box. And I just thought, my personal belongings should not be left in the office. This is BS. So here I am with my box. I'm picking up a mug, a pair of shoes that I left in the office, like a cardigan and a whole bunch of notes, because I already wanted to launch a business at the time, and I was doing my market research and had all the documents there and a whole bunch of things that were personal. Toothbrush, you name it. I just took everything home. And my then boyfriend was like, I got home, he's like, did you get fired? Did something happen? I'm like, no, I just felt like my personal stuff doesn't belong there anymore. So I took it away with me. Then I wake up in the morning, and I was listening, actually, I would wake up to the radio station. It was a French radio station, news, so that I knew what I would come to in the office, because I would pick up from Europe. So I got the news from Europe. And the first thing I heard was that Masood had been killed. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going to hit us now? That was my first thought on 9/11, 2001. What's going to hit us now? Word for word. Get ready, go to the office, and the subway got stopped. One stop ahead of our stop at the World Trade Center, because there was a plane incident and it lasted for a while. When they finally, and I could feel in my gut something was wrong. And once we got there, came out of the subway, complete silence. I mean, you can imagine, this is heart of Wall Street, the Wall Trade Center. Complete and utter silence. The phones weren't working. I could hear sheets of paper falling. I'm like, something's wrong. And I look up and I see this hole in the tower. And I was like, oh, crap. This is not a plane incident like a billionaire flying his little cuckoo. No. It's bigger than that. So instead of walking away, I walked towards it. I saw the people throwing themselves off the towers, which was very disturbing, but I I got myself into automatic mode at that point. I could see the things, but I didn't really register them. I was like, this is odd, but beyond that, I was like in my thing, walked towards the tower thinking, very guilty. Oh my God, that guy who took my place. 6 a.m. Oh shit, what happened? Thank God everybody escaped. It hit above our level. So went there, and the thing is, instead of going away, I went towards there. That's when the second plane hit. So I was under the second impact. How I'm still here talking to you today, maybe this is another dimension, and we're talking another dimension. I'm some kind of a ghost, or I don't know, but I don't know how I'm still here, because that noise, I will always, and I'm stressed that when the planes are too low, because it reminds me of that noise, and then the darkness that comes with it as the shadow comes over me, and then the bang, and then, oh, this is it. Oh, it's my time. It's my turn to die. Okay. Literally, that was my thought. And then all the debris falling around me. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to get hit anytime now. And I really felt like I was protected. I was in a bubble. It was very weird. And I can still see the bubble I'm talking to. People say, oh, yeah, you're a little cuckoo. And I'm like, whatever, I'm here.
Right. You're here.
This is my experience, and I'm sharing it. You don't want to hear it, just don't. But literally, this is what happened. And then after that, I ran, went to, I think it's, I can't even remember the name of the stations. Anyway, I went down to the phone. I knew there was a phone booth, and I called collect call my parents, who had no idea what was happening. It was middle afternoon for them, just like this. And I could hear my mom in that background saying, like, something's up. I can tell something's up. Oh my God, I'm going to turn the TV on because I can tell something's up. What is she saying? My dad's like, oh, nothing. There's like a plane incident. And she said she's okay, that we should not worry. And I could hear her say, no. I can tell something's wrong. Turn the TV on. And then I could hear both of them going, oh my God. I'm like, can you keep calm? I'm fine. I'll call you whenever I can. Okay, ciao. And that's it. And I tried to go to the New York Stock Exchange because I had a friend working there. I managed in the little bubble that I was, and there was so much confusion. The guards just let me through, and I managed to get to the entrance and ask for the guy. His secretary responded, it's like, oh, leave, I'm sorry, he's in Japan, whatever. And he had called at the same moment and told me later on that he had asked her and the guard to come and run after me to put me in the bunker under the stock exchange. I was like, that would have been a bad idea, because by then I had become totally claustrophobic. With me in a bunker, I would have driven everybody crazy, so maybe not. Anyway. So, and then I started my way home, Upper East Side, and I was, we had another office on 100 William Street. I had colleagues. When I opened the door, they were like, oh my God, Levi, she's here, whatever. Asked for a phone line, called my bosses in London, because we were part of the Financial Times, called them, and I said, I don't know where anybody is. No, I'm not in there. I swapped my shift with one of the colleagues. I don't know where he is. I don't know where anyone is. If you have any news, you tell me. But let it be known, this is your fault, because you made us move there. And I told you in last year, when you made us move there, I think it was December of the year before, they made us move there. And I said, we're not a financial company. We're a financial news company. We have nothing to do there. So I told you, it's your fault if anybody dies. Blah, 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 blah. And then we had to evacuate because the towers collapsed. We're in this white cloud of dust. And again, it was an automatic. And instead of running out, because, all the sirens started ringing for evacuation, I actually stopped the whole floor and I said, everybody come to me in the kitchen. You need to have a wet wipes to put here to breathe. Claudia, I had no idea why I did that. It just came to me. It's just like automatic, like survival. I'm good at that. Ugh, God, no longer. Anyway, so basically, they would line up in front of the kitchen, take this thing, and I said, breathe in this. You see what's outside? And they would thank me, and they'd go down, 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 down. And there was the office manager, Ernie, bless her heart. Ernie was, let's say, overweight, largely overweight. And we went down together. I told once everybody was done, she was like, Leva, we gotta go now. And I said, no, Ernie, now we're gonna go. You and I go around the floor, make sure there's nobody left in the offices, look in the bathrooms and whatever, and then we go. That's what we did. And then we went down. And as we went down, I could not see Ernie. She was like within arm's length, but the cloud was so thick, I could not see her. When I finally got treated for PTSD later on, I spoke to her and I said, Ernie, you were my rock. Thank you for being there. And she's like, girl, are you crazy? Did you see your strength? You made everybody do this and that and that. I had no idea where you got that, but I felt safe because of you. We all did. And I was like, what? You what? No. So it's interesting to see the different points of view. And it really shows how easy it is to get lost in one point of view, not be able, despite your best efforts, to see the other side. So that was my experience. And I think it was the drop that really, it was too much. After that, all my traumas, all the things that I had been sitting on without treating them, without seeing a therapist, all of that just went, we're coming out, ready or not, here we are. And it was overwhelming. It's just like the PTSD was horrible. No sleep, nightmares every night, being in a plane crash every night, or a plane crashing on you every night, and all those limbs, it was just too much. It was just too much. And actually, I never made the connection, but a leg fell next to me when I was under the impact, and I actually never made the connection. But my mom, it's the leg that she almost lost. There I am in this massive world, whatever, a leg drops next to me, and that's when I'm like, oh, that's it. This is the end. Okay. So yeah, that was my experience, and I suffered PTSD for a long time, and by that time it was CPTSD. So then I got treated with the virtual reality in New York, which was hard. You have to go through the images nonstop, exposure therapy, and the noise. The noise is what does it for me every time. It's just insane. So yeah, it's been a trip. It's been a journey.
But you do still like to fly.
Oh, yeah. I cannot wait to fly again. It was hard at the beginning. It was hard because we had to book flights for everyone in the office to go to London, where the headquarters were, because it was still earnings season. I mean, come on. The world's still turning. Just because our buildings, to speak very, to be very pedestrian, our buildings, just because our buildings had disappeared didn't mean the world stopped running and turning, right? So everybody had to fly to Europe, and we had to book flights for every single one of us. And I had to be the first one to fly. I was a senior person. Yeah, the day before, I went to the airport with my boyfriend at the time to JFK, and we sat there by the window the whole afternoon through the late in the evening, and I was just sobbing there, forcing myself to watch flights, to watch the planes take off and land safely, and being so stressed every time, and crying, and then the following day I had to take the plane, but the crew was amazing. They put me at the back of the plane. They gave me duvets, comforters. They gave me pillows. They gave me the food of first class. They came to check on me, and I'm like, I like it, but you're so gotta let me sleep, Thank you. So yeah, I love to fly.
Wow, that's incredible. I can't imagine. I guess one of the good things that came from that is it brought all your trauma to the surface to allow you to start working on it and start healing.
Yeah, it's like the bell, the last call, the car. Last call. Come on, get on it now. That was it. That was my last call, and I just heeded to it. I was like, okay, let's do it.
It's a good thing you listened.
Yeah, I had no choice. My life was shit. And also, I had lost 80% of my breathing capacity. So imagine how careful I have to be with COVID, because if it hits me, it hits me. Pretty much like everybody else. But that and have other, as you know, other comorbidities. But I had lost 80% of my breathing capacities. I was on cortisones that I had to inhale 3 times a day, cortisones that I had to swallow, pills, etc. It was just insane just to be able to breathe. And there was a time where I had to choose at the very beginning between breathing and talking, which made me feel this is when the claustrophobia really hit, because you're trapped in your body. You can't talk or you can't breathe. Both very basic, basic functions. Horrible. And every single little cold, people get colds, no big deal.
Right.
You get a cold, it would turn into a pneumonia. Every single damn time. The number of pneumonias that I had to put up with, I was like, can't take this. No. It has to stop. And to heal the body, you have to heal the mind. So
that's what I wanted. Sorry, that's what I wanted to ask you about really quickly is, as you mentioned, I know you have had some other health challenges. A lot of people relate mental or physical trauma then to illness or chronic illness and find that there is a relation to those things. So obviously, we know that the breathing issues and that comes from 9/11, but with some of the other things that you've experienced, do you believe that there is that correlation of trauma to illness?
Absolutely. It's really the mind is, and I want to be careful when I say this. I'm not here to blame people who have cancer and to say, you made your cancer, it's your fault. Oh, hell no. No. Absolutely not. What I can say is that you really need your mind to be okay in order to get better. In order to heal physically, you need the mind to be in sync with the body. And yes, sometimes when your mind doesn't want to listen, after a while your body will take over. Your body, you have to know your body is your best friend. It is your best friend. Your body is going to tell you when something's off. And if you refuse to listen, it'll have to force things on you. And the way that it forces things onto you is it creates disease or whatever. I know that every time I have an illness or I have pain, I try to first sit and think, what is going on? What is this part of the body saying? Okay, what is this in traditional Chinese medicine? For instance, I wake up at 4 on the dot every morning. I am so tired of waking up at 4. People are like, yeah, I wake up at 4 now and I get a lot of things done and like the hustler thing. No. My body says 4. Literally, I pick up the phone, it's 4. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, what is happening at 4 a.m.? Chinese body clock. Oh, lungs. It's true, I'm having trouble breathing lately. Oh, but why? Because I live in the countryside and it's harvesting season and all those machines and they harvest and all the things in the air. Okay, so I just need to start using my inhaler. But see, I don't think. My body says, woo, you forgot about us. So hopefully tonight I won't wake up at 4 a.m.
My fingers are crossed for you. So tell me, what is your biggest piece of relationship advice based on, whether it's based on your holistic coaching, whether it's based on your own life experiences or a combination? What is one piece of relationship advice that you would give out to our audience?
Okay, so any type of relationship, in any type of relationship, as in all relationships, there's one thing that is really crucial, is that when you have feelings of anger, frustration, whatever, and you are thinking, well, I am angry because this person, the other person did this and did that. Yes, true. It's legitimate. The person actually did this and did that. Okay. But then if you can't get over it, then sit down and ask yourself, actually, That thing that happened with the person is only a trigger. The person did something wrong, granted. Okay. But if it's still holding you now, it means there's something deeper going on. So sit down, write down what's going through your body. I feel hot, I feel cold, my fingers are tingling, my fingertips are tingling, like I feel like this, that, like debrief yourself and try to see what your body is feeling. And that's where you can think, okay, when was the first time that I had this kind of feeling in my body? And maybe it helps you get back to wherever the trigger was. Again, this is not therapy. It's really action. It's like this, do that. And then when you find this, go see the therapist, right? We're not working against each other. We work hand in hand. That's how it should do. That's how we should do it. That's how it should work. So when you're in a conflict with someone and you kind of have it's so hard, such a hard time to get over it, then stop blaming the person. Let them loose, cut them loose. I don't mean dump them. I don't mean let go of the relationship. I just mean stop blaming them. Stop talking to them and say, you did this. Blah, 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 blah. No. Go regroup with yourself and see with yourself what is really happening here. Because if you keep on, blaming the other person, you're going to poison the relationship. And if it's a good relationship, why poison a good relationship? If it's a bad relationship, well, hell, it goes to hell, so it's fine. But if it's a good relationship or a medium relationship, it's a relationship, in any case, that helps you grow because it triggered this thing to tell you, go back to something there that's happening, because what's happening is happening with you. So try hypnosis, try whatever you want to try. Try to paint, try to go for a drive or go iron your clothes because it's a very meditative activity. But don't go partying and don't go into the noise. Go into silence. Go into activities that actually allow you to just be. Then see what happens. That's really my biggest. That's, I think, the core piece of advice that I try to apply to myself in relationship, any relationship, with parents, with friends, with romantic partners, business partners, everyone.
Love it. Love it. One last thing, because you need our audience's help with something. So we like to wrap up these episodes because we've been through some really heavy topics. So we're going to finish out with something a little bit lighter. We're going to talk about tattoos for a really quick second. As you know, I love tattoos. I have a lot of tattoos. I'm planning my next tattoo. You don't have any tattoos yet.
Yep.
So, but you want a tattoo. So why don't you talk a little bit about maybe what you want, or that you don't know what you want, because we're going to ask the audience here, after hearing some of your story and getting to know you, to share their ideas with you.
Awesome. Okay. So as I was telling you earlier on, my body is covered in scars. So those are what I call unwanted tattoo. No, I want my tattoo. I want it because I want to cover another unwanted tattoo, a scar that I got last year in January, because I had a cyst here that was like the size of a little chickpea, a dry chickpea. And then within 2 days, it became 2 Oreos piled up.
Wow.
Yeah, super painful. And the hospital where I went here in the emergency, they did everything without numbing me or anything. Yes. Super painful. And then I had like a month-long treatment of the guy having to open the thing and clean it, whatever, every day. Anyway, that thing still isn't closed. There still is a little thing, and it's ugly because the way they did it, I don't know, let's not even go there. Anyway, it's ugly. It's, I think, 1/2 inch long, and I want a tattoo to put over it. Now, I need to figure it out because I'm taking blood thinners. Can people on blood thinners have tattoos? Maybe yes, maybe more like on the surface. I don't know. But I'd like a tattoo that reminds me of the sun, that reminds me of the sun that's shining without being just the sun. I want something that's empowering, that's feminine, very simple. I love things that are simple. So there's this woman on Instagram that has this beautiful symbol, but I'm like, I'm not going to steal her symbol.
Right.
I'm going to have my own.
You need your own symbol.
I know. So if the audience wants to help me with that, I mean, where the sun shines, let's call it that. I want the tattoo to show me, it says where the sun shines. I don't want it in writing. I want a symbol. So if you guys and girls want to submit things about where the sun shines, I'm open.
You're ready. And I am happy to recommend artists to you because I know that you will be able to sit like a rock and take the pain even over a scar, because that is difficult skin to tattoo, but I know that you have it in you. And so we're going to find you an amazing artist that can help you with this. So we are taking ideas for where the sun shines. So Leva, tell our guests tell our audience where they can find you.
Okay, so it's very easy to find me. You can just find me on my website, levarj.com. So that's L for love, what's I for?
Intuition.
For intuition, V for
veracity.
I'm going to make you work here. Veracity.
Yep.
A for amour in French.
Yes. Yes, love it.
R for
teamwork.
Exactly.
Resilient.
Okay, and J.
Wow, J is going to be a tough one. J is for jamming. You are jamming today.
Jamming. I love it. All right. .com. That's where you find me. And at live.alive on Instagram. And from there on, you can follow the link, and then you'll see my other accounts everywhere else. But I would be very happy to talk to anyone who is hesitating about getting help, or anyone who wants advice. I'm happy to have conversations. As I always say, the first conversation, you don't have to pay for it. It's just a conversation. There's no strings attached. You don't want to work with me later on. I don't mind. I'm just happy I can help you. So, yeah, send me those tattoos.
Absolutely. Leva, thank you so much for being so open, for sharing just a tidbit, a piece of your story. I definitely want to have you back again so we can delve into each of these things a little deeper. But I really appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
I really hope you guys enjoyed Leva's story as much as I did. She has been through so much, and her ability to remain positive and help others is truly inspirational. So remember, until next week, you are strong enough and you are worth it.